Senate Republicans left Washington for Memorial Day recess Thursday without voting on a $72 billion immigration enforcement package. The collapse was triggered by the Justice Department's $1.776 billion anti-weaponization fund, which senators said was dropped on them without warning. The fund would compensate people who claim the Biden-era Justice Department targeted them and could pay January 6th rioters and Trump allies alike. Senator Lisa Murkowski called the fund a bomb dropped in the middle of a carefully planned reconciliation bill. Senator Ron Johnson called it a galactic blunder. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche rushed to Capitol Hill for a closed-door briefing, but emerged unable to calm the revolt. Senate Majority Leader John Thune told reporters the administration would have gotten advice had they consulted lawmakers first. Senator Bill Cassidy, fresh off losing his Louisiana primary to a Trump-backed challenger, became one of the fund's sharpest critics. Republicans can only afford to lose 3 votes to pass the reconciliation bill along party lines. The delay means Congress will almost certainly miss Trump's June 1st deadline for the package. A bipartisan House effort is also forming to kill the fund, led by Republican Brian Fitzpatrick and Democrat Tom Suozzi.
Iran said Thursday that the latest United States peace proposal has narrowed the gaps between the two sides, as both nations seek to turn a fragile ceasefire into a lasting agreement. Tehran said it is in the process of responding to a written text submitted by Washington through Pakistani mediators. Trump said the war is in its final stages and said he is willing to wait a couple of days for Iran's response. The ceasefire, which first took effect on April 8th, has been repeatedly extended and repeatedly violated by both sides. The U.S. and Iran have traded fire in the Strait of Hormuz since the truce began, and both blockades of the waterway remain in place. A 14-point memorandum of understanding is being negotiated by Trump envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner with Iranian counterparts directly and through mediators. The draft agreement would declare an end to the war and open a 30-day negotiation window on Iran's nuclear program, sanctions relief, and reopening the strait. Iran and the U.S. remain far apart on how long Tehran must halt uranium enrichment, with Iran proposing 5 years and the U.S. demanding 20. Congress voted Thursday to delay a House War Powers resolution that would direct Trump to pull forces from the conflict, pushing that vote until after recess.
President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Thursday raised the prospect of U.S. military intervention in Cuba, one day after the Justice Department indicted former Cuban President Raul Castro. Federal prosecutors unveiled charges accusing Castro of ordering the 1996 shoot-down of 2 civilian planes flown by Miami-based Cuban exiles. 4 people were killed in that attack, including 3 American citizens. Trump said previous presidents had considered intervening in Cuba for decades and added it looks like he will be the one that does it. Rubio said a diplomatic solution is preferred, but he is doubtful the U.S. can reach one with Cuba's current government. The U.S. military announced the arrival of the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier and accompanying ships in the Caribbean on the same day the charges were unsealed. Many analysts believe the Trump administration is following the same playbook used when it captured former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in a military operation in January. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel has warned that a U.S. military assault would cause a bloodbath with incalculable consequences. Castro, who turns 95 next month, is unlikely to face extradition, and the charges are widely expected to remain symbolic.
Democratic National Committee Chair Ken Martin on Thursday released a long-delayed autopsy of the party's 2024 presidential campaign loss. Martin apologized for months of delays, saying his earlier refusal to publish the report ended up creating an even bigger distraction. He released it in full, unedited and unabridged, while adding that it does not meet his standards. The report, written by Democratic consultant Paul Rivera as a part-time volunteer, carries a disclaimer saying it reflects the author's views, not the DNC's. The document blames the loss on inconsistent messaging, late voter outreach, a lack of alignment between Harris's campaign and the party's main super PAC, and an over-reliance on negative partisanship. It urges Democrats to move away from identity politics, engage voters earlier in the election cycle, and develop a positive agenda beyond opposing Trump. The report is notably silent on Biden's decision to run again, the Gaza war, and Harris's decision not to appear on Joe Rogan's podcast. Martin told DNC staff after publication that Rivera was no longer associated with the committee. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro had privately pressed Martin to release the report, according to two sources with knowledge of the call.
President Trump announced Thursday he is sending 5,000 additional troops to Poland, an apparent reversal of moves his own administration made just days earlier to reduce the U.S. military footprint in Europe. Trump posted the announcement on Truth Social, citing his close relationship with newly elected Polish President Karol Nawrocki, whom Trump had endorsed. The move caught Pentagon officials off guard. One U.S. defense official, speaking anonymously, said the military had just spent 2 weeks reacting to the first announcement and does not know what this new one means. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth had halted a scheduled brigade rotation through Poland just 1 week earlier, calling the decision a response to European nations that have not stepped up when America needed them. As recently as Tuesday, the top U.S. and NATO commander in Europe told reporters 5,000 troops would be coming out of Europe. Trump's announcement deepened confusion among European allies already unsettled by the administration's shifting signals ahead of a NATO foreign ministers meeting in Sweden. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte welcomed the announcement and said military commanders are working through the details. Poland's defense minister called the decision confirmation that Polish-American relations are very strong.
Investigators say the two teenage gunmen who killed 3 people at the Islamic Center of San Diego on May 18th were radicalized online, where they first met and shared white supremacist views. The shooting at San Diego's largest mosque is being investigated as a hate crime. A security guard, Amin Abdullah, and 2 staff members, Mansour Kaziha and Nadir Awad, were killed in the attack. Abdullah immediately engaged the gunmen to prevent them from entering the mosque, where as many as 140 children were inside classrooms. Officials said his actions prevented many more fatalities. The 2 suspects died from self-inflicted gunshot wounds near the scene. Investigators found anti-Islamic writing in the suspect's vehicle and hate speech on at least one of the firearms. Law enforcement also identified a manifesto covering a wide range of racial and religious hatred and seized more than 30 guns from residences tied to the suspects. NBC News reported that the suspects' writings reveal admiration for Adolf Hitler and the perpetrators of mass shootings in Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and Christchurch. Community members have donated more than $2 million to the victims' families.